Hello, this is Madam Whip-Ass. Um, just want to chat a little bit about some things. I posted some videos yesterday, the parrots in New York. Yeah, a couple of weeks ago, I traveled up to New York for a little bit, and I had taken the birds with me because they needed their wings clipped and pedicure and all of that stuff. And it's very hard for me to find someone down here to do it. So, I went to New York, and the bird store that I was in, was the bird store that I bought Jumanji from about 19 years ago. That first bin that I went to was where he was. Things have changed there. There's a lot less birds, and it's just not as clean as it was. The last time I was there, probably was about 2006 or 2005. That's the last time I was there, and it's a family-run pet shop. Really, it just has, all types of birds and parrots. And then the other side of the store, they do sell all types of fish, exotic fish and stuff like that. And when I first went there, it was run by the parents, and they had 3 daughters who at the time were the youngest was like a preteen, and the others were like maybe 14, 15 or something. So that was damn near 20 years later. And it's just mom and pop there. They would tell me that 2 of the daughters have children. And I guess, the kids really aren't working the store anymore, especially being married and got their own lives or whatever. And so I only seen one helper there, the same guy that I first saw working there 20 years ago. He hasn't aged. Oh my God, he looks the same. But and they remembered me, which is pretty cool. But in the video when I walked around and you saw the whole bunch of cages, they were kind of dirty. And that store wasn't like that before. Dirty meaning, those cages haven't been cleaned. At least the bars haven't. Inside, the grate and everything wasn't a mess. But it's like the bars, because some birds are really, really messy. Most of them are, tell you the truth. And I don't know, it's just like not as clean and pristine as it was 19 years ago. And I guess things have changed. The lady was talking to me and telling me that it's hard to get baby birds. And if I was going to purchase Jumanji today from there, he would be $2,200. And 19 years ago, he was $1,500. And I guess things have changed. She said it's hard to get, baby birds. And some other things she was explaining, and how expensive it is in New York. Yeah. And taxes are crazy, and that's why, the birds are like $700 more. 20 years later. Wow. I thought $1,500 was a lot. So, yeah, that first bin that I went to, I remember the reason why I purchased Jumanji was because I was the sole caretaker for my dad, and he had Alzheimer's disease. And it was like, the early years that I had him. And, oh my God, it was just heart-wrenching to say the least. But long story short, I thought getting a parrot would rectify a particular problem, which it did. And so I don't know how I found this bird shop in Mineola, but I went there and I explained to the lady why I wanted a parrot. So she took me in that bird room, and that first bin of birds that you see in the video, she said, "Now you stand here," because they're Italians. They got thick Italian accents. She said, "You don't pick the bird. The bird, they pick a you." And I said, "The bird got to pick me." She said, "Yeah, birds don't like everybody. You can't pick a bird. The bird has to pick you. You stand there." So there was had to be about 20 birds in that bin. I mean, it was crowded. And so I stood there, and I was standing there for a while. And all of a sudden, Jumanji just bust through the crowd, jumped up on the edge of the bin, and got in my face and said, "Hello." And every time I moved, he was pushing other birds out the way to get to where I was, and I'd go to the other side, and he came following me. And I was like, "Oh, I guess it's you." So Jumanji picked me, and we've been together ever since. So yeah, I got the bird. Oh, I spent so much money that day. I got him. He was $1,500. I had to get a cage, which was, how much was that cage? Probably another $300. The food, some toys, and I bring this parrot home. How did I get that cage home? I don't even remember. I know I didn't put it together. I don't know. I just know I got this little, well, it wasn't really little. Little compared to what he lives in now, that's for sure. And, day by day, I learned how to take care of this bird. And this bird took care of me and took care of my dad as well. He really served his purpose. He still serves his purpose. But as far as my dad, they developed a love-hate relationship. More love than hate. I guess it just made them both feel good to sit there and argue every day. It is what it is. But when it was all said and done, my dad loved that bird, and that bird loved my dad. So much so that even though it's 19 years later, Amazons are known for mimicking the human voice distinctly, precisely. And so even though it's 19 years later, he still speaks in my father's voice. Some people find that kind of eerie and strange. Not me. I think it's pretty cool. Yeah, so let's get on and talk about Wendy Williams. Oh, the internet is lighted up about Wendy Williams and her husband, who has a mistress that lives 9 miles away. He done bought her a condo, a brand new car. He's been leading a double life and pretty much living between the two households. And people are just gloating over this. They are so happy to be talking about this. And I understand why, because, we all know how messy Wendy Williams has been and remains to be. 1 ounce of messy information about your life, if you're a celebrity, she's going to blast it with her messy self. But that's what we all love her for, or love to hate her for. Either one. It's entertaining for a lot of people. Obviously, look at, her success. If she wasn't entertaining, she wouldn't be where she is today and what she's doing. So, the internet is ablaze with this Wendy Williams tea. People have talked about in recent months that Kevin beats on Wendy. And I saw a clip of her show that somebody played in support of this tea, that he beats the crap out of her. And she was talking about over the weekend she fell and her back hurts. And then, she was like holding back tears. And it really lended, that video clip. You knew that he had beat her ass and she's trying to cover it up. You know what, Wendy? You just need to, you know what? Who are we? Who am I to tell Wendy what she needs to do? You know what? I find people who come from parents who have been married all of their lives, who have kept the family unit together, that's an excellent example to that parents can show their children. And it's beautiful, and I believe that's the way it's supposed to be. But when you grow up with parents who have been married and faithful and loyal to each other, and then you get married and you think that your marriage is, you're going to be married forever, just like your parents and all of that. And when it doesn't happen, or it's not happening, it's hard to get a divorce because you don't know that. You don't know about divorce. And especially if you come from a family where your aunts and uncles, everybody has been married to the same person. And so you want to continue that, I hate to use the word tradition, but you want to continue that example, And you want to set that example for your children. And so I think a lot of people who grew up with married parents, and when their marriage happens to be a nightmare, which they don't even realize that they're living in a marriage nightmare, it's hard for them to let go. I think couples who have been married and, with a complete family unit, parents, they tend to, throughout time and as your children mature, you talk about marriage, and, the script might be, you aren't going to get along. There are going to be conflicts, but you took that vow and you somehow work it out. You stick together. And I think that's might be Wendy Williams' situation, because she has very loving parents who have been married for, oh God, could be more than 50 years, could be 60 years, who knows. Hell, Wendy is older than me. Her parents could have very well been married by 60 years right about now. And so, she's only doing what she knows in terms of being a wife, in terms of being married. But everybody's marriage, just because your parents have an ideal marriage, you know. Doesn't mean that you will have one too. And when you are hurting more than feeling good being married, when it's hurting to be married as far as being wonderful, when your significant other is straight embarrassing you and disrespecting you, that's not a marriage. And hell, that's not even love. And a lot of times people stay married because it will be hella complicated to get a divorce, especially in Wendy's situation. I mean, from what I understand, is he her manager? I don't know, but he definitely has ties to her success. And it might appear to be easier to just stay married so you don't have to divvy up shit and go through this nasty public divorce that I'm sure will be quite tedious in some aspects. But you know what? It may not be as bad as you think it is. And when it's all said and done, I'm sure you'll be a much happier person after it. I'm pretty sure. Sometimes things just don't work out. But you cannot sacrifice your mental health, your emotional health, and being miserable, but having to come out on that stage and sit in front of those cameras and put on this happy face and entertain us when you are crumbling inside. That is so unhealthy. It really is. So if these allegations are true, if it's something that Wendy can deal with, then, let her deal with it. They say that she's known about this woman for 10 years. It could be. Which then is confusing me a little bit. Because I don't see her father being that type of man. And I don't see her mother being that type of woman that would tolerate such behavior. Why is she tolerating such behavior? I mean, has the marriage been over years ago? Then why are y'all still married? I don't know. I maybe it works. Maybe that's what's keeping them married. Some stupid people say that. Having an affair and having another relationship, it saved our marriage. Bullshit. No, all I'm saying, Wendy, is if you are crumbling inside, if you would just sit down and get a sheet of paper, I want you to write it down. Don't do it on a computer. Get a piece of loose leaf, a sheet of loose leaf, and a pen, and draw a line down the middle of the page. And on the left side, I want you to write reasons to remain married and reasons to get a divorce. And I want you to sit down and write all the reasons why you feel you should remain married. And on the right side, I want you to sit down and think about all the reasons why you should get a divorce. And if the reasons for remaining married outweighs the reasons for getting a divorce, then remain married. And if the reasons for getting a divorce outweigh the reasons for remaining married, then I think you should get a divorce. I mean, really, when you think about it, why are you holding on to a person and a marriage if they make you miserable? If they make you cry, if, that's a huge feat to be that strong as you are, Wendy. To be going through this and putting on this happy face and entertaining us. That's like living a double life just like he is. Nah, you need to free yourself. And I'm talking about freeing yourself more emotionally than anything else. And the way you're going to free yourself emotionally at this point in time, well, only you know. I'm just going by what I heard. So that's why I'm walking down this road with you. But this just can't go on if this is all true. A decision has to be made. And as I started to say, you're holding on to being miserable, holding on to this marriage, holding on to this person. When it's time to let him go, let the marriage go, get him out the way, because maybe there's somebody else who's supposed to come into your life. That could very well be it. But you're blocking it. You're blocking that person because you holding on to, being miserable. And the bottom line, it's all about the choice you make. But yeah, people are just overjoyed to hear all of this. And they do have a point. Yeah, Wendy, she put your business all out in the street and this and that. And she's been doing it for decades. And so when this happens to her, people are like, yeah. And now they want to put her business and run her down like she run everybody else down. But don't forget, these same people who are running her down, you've been entertained by her shenanigans. I know I have. Especially when she was on Hot 97 in the 90s. She was a hot mess. But we all tuned in, didn't we? And when she came to WBLS in 2000, 2002 or something, we were all thoroughly entertained. We love to hear Wendy Williams talk. And now she's on daytime television. We are still thoroughly entertained by her gossip stuff. And why we act like she's the only person who gossips? That's a whole career for a lot of people, not just her. There's groups of them. Rona Barrett. Okay, I'm telling my age. But I don't know. That name just popped off out my head. But there's so many. TMZ is gossip. All of that. So, why are we coming for the Wendy's neck? When a lot of times she gets her gossip from her gossip friends in the business. They circulate it. They share it. You know? That's what makes Wendy Williams, that's her brand. And she couldn't have built it if we didn't feed into it. If we wasn't eating the gossip she was feeding us. Anyway. Anybody who's happy to see what Wendy's going through, you know, those are the people who just love to hate her. But anyway, for one, I happen to be very proud of Wendy. Always have been. Not about the gossip aspect of her brand, but as a businesswoman and her personality. She has a great personality. She's very, very entertaining, very funny. You know, and she's a bitch. But that's why we like her, right? That's why we tune in. Whatever, y'all. I think I rambled on enough early this morning. Time for me to get up and get ready for work. Y'all have a great day and get out there on your grind and make some money. Be productive. And peace out.